Me this week.
We can hear you.
Are we nice and clear?
Oh, loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Excellent.
Hello, Stephanie. Haven't met you before.
Hi, I'm a newcomer. I'm the newbie today.
And
How are
you
you all doing? Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Very good. And who have we got? Okay, looking across. So there's Stephanie, then there's me, then there's David. Hi, David. How are you?
Peter, I'm well, and how are you?
Happy Friday.
And same back at you.
And then down on the left, I have Ray. How are you?
Hey, Peter. How's it going? Hi, guys.
Hi, Ray.
Hello.
And Angela. I don't recognize Angela.
No, I'm new. Hello.
Hi, Angela. We're the newbie
Oh,
today.
Yeah.
bit of branding behind Angela. That's sneaky.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
My virtual office.
Excellent. And Teresa, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Peter. Good to see you all.
Hi, Teresa.
So,
Hiya.
Teresa.
How are we all getting on anyway?
good.
Right, yeah.
Everyone having a good week so far?
We're still here. Anything else?
Yeah, let's just leave it at that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, Ray, you're in the dark. What's going on?
I don't know. A lot of people say that about me. I'm in the dark, but it's interesting.
Where have you got a window in that room? Okay, now one of the problems there is you've now light only coming in one side of your face.
I know, yeah.
Okay.
I'll get it sorted now. Hang on.
I was told, Ray, that I had the same problem. I was told I looked like I was in a witness protection program.
Let me go back to my original seat. Hang on a second.
Let me show you guys. Just hang on there 1 second. I'm going to grab something that helps me when I'm in low light situations.
That's very healthy looking, Teresa. Between that and your LinkedIn yoga poses, you just make us all feel inadequate.
Well, it's not always like that, David. You should see the amount of chocolate I get through, so it's all a balance.
Chocolate in the smoothie.
Yeah, chocolate while doing yoga.
So have ever been part of the group for a while now?
Oh, yeah.
Just start first.
There's been this is probably maybe our fourth go, is it, David? And Ray, you've been here
Yeah,
from
this is the fourth one, yeah.
Yeah.
We've been together longer than that, I think, haven't we? Before we started Pitch Perfect, so.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this has been, it's just I'm talking about these particular Friday slots.
This is
It's
the
been
fourth one,
about
yeah.
4.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, Peter's great. I've I did Rip It Up. I don't know if you guys saw that in promoting it. Sales
Yeah,
workshops.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to a few. He's very good.
Is
Are
it?
you in-
Yeah.
Are you in sales, Stephanie, or what do you do?
I worked in event sales, and then I have switched with the digital. Everyone's gone digital. I think we've all gone digital at this stage. So I'm going to be doing a master's now with a Trinity, just to get a really good base on it, and then just kind of work with different companies to kind of digital support more or less for different companies now. Trying to get they help me and I help them.
Physical events, was it? You were doing
Physical events, physical branded corporate events. So I'd be like Bulmers or Diageo and things of that nature. So I did a lot of that.
Oh, very good.
So I have to do the digital switch. But I think we're all doing the digital switch now.
I think
We're all doing it. It's like Lanigan's ball, isn't
Digital
it?
shuffle, yeah.
Has to be done.
No, so I just went off there to get to. I couldn't find it at first, but here's the thing: we can all see each other at the moment. Yeah, you've all got everybody on gallery view. So here's the thing: in real life, in the days before COVID, if anybody can remember them, if you went and met somebody and they wouldn't look you in the eye, or they couldn't look you in the eye, would you have trusted them? Would you have done business with them if they were doing all that? Now here's the problem, and it's because people don't realize. If you can't see your own eyes on Zoom, well then neither can the prospective customer you're talking to. All right, so just taking that in, have a look at yourself and say, am I well enough lit? Can people see me properly? Okay, because trust comes from what people see. And you don't need, everybody say, oh, you need to spend $5,000 on lights and cameras and all that. It's all nonsense, right? If you've got a window that's behind you or over to the side of you or whatever, there isn't enough light. A couple of those. And reflect the light back on yourself, okay? They work better than any lamp. You've got natural light so you don't look jaundiced or yellow on camera. Very simple, just get a couple of those.
That could be the vodka, mind you.
What's that?
I'm looking yellow, it could be vodka, I'm sorry.
Well, there is that, okay. But,
Peter, just to let
hello,
you know,
Louise.
hello, just to let you know, I'm sorry I'm late, but the link that was in the email gave me a different Zoom, so I was sitting on my own for the last few minutes.
Oh,
And then thinking, I can't be the only one who doesn't turn up, so then I clicked on the link again.
okay, that's weird.
Yeah. So sorry, just to let you know, in case anyone else clicked on that and are sitting on their own somewhere.
Right, well,
Nowhere
that's the
else
first
to do.
I've heard of it, and I've never heard of that happening before, so that's a weird one. I don't know, how would we find out? I don't know.
No idea. I just posted into the group, am I in the right Zoom? And then I realized I wasn't. Anyway, done.
Okay,
I'm going to
okay. Well, you're here now. That's the main thing. Now, I had do you know what? I had a pen. I had a pen for the board 5 minutes ago, and you know what? I don't know what I've done with it. Isn't that typical?
Fail to prepare, prepare to fail.
I think it's just old age, Ray. I can tell you
It's
what
easy
I
to
was...
sit here and cast aspersions, I know.
Stephanie and Angela, nice to meet you both. I haven't met you
Hi.
before.
Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thanks for the welcome. Nice welcome. I saw your message there. And O'Connor. It's another O'Connor.
Except I've got one N. I'm one of the weird ones.
Oh, I saw that there. I was like, oh, it's okay. We're all the same here. Distant relatives.
Very good, very good. Okay, well, it looks it's a quiet enough one today. Do you know what I've noticed? Have anybody noticed people are going on holidays?
Yes, everyone. I can't get through to anyone, and no business is being done. Not
Where are
mine.
they going?
They're going down to Kerry and places like that.
They're gone down to spread the COVID.
I've got
Hey,
6
goodness.
friends. I've got
I think
6
some of
friends.
them have gone further than Kerry, I can tell you.
Yeah.
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 Greece and Italy.
Oh yeah. You just wait
Portugal.
for you wait.
Very popular, yeah.
Just wait for the second wave.
I'm done. I'm
Right.
done with this COVID.
I
But
know
it's great
you're done
news.
with
The
this.
schools are opening. I don't know how, but they're opening.
Well, hold on. They are announcing on Monday what the plan is.
Yeah.
It will be
Bottle of
fully
domestos,
opening,
I'd say, on a screen. It's not opening properly. It's going to just go all wrong, I think.
You look very happy, Raymond.
Hmm?
You look very happy.
I don't think ASTI are going to let the teachers back in. I just don't think they're going to let them in.
Well, I think the next 2 or 3 weeks will make a big difference. If we start to see what's happened in Barcelona this week happening here, and see what's happened in Australia happening here with people coming back from holidays, I think things could take a big change. And all we can do is wait and see.
Can't deal with another lockdown. I'm done. I'm so done with this COVID.
I know, but here's the problem. So is everybody else, Louise. And what happened was everybody just went out and went mad.
What,
Okay.
it's not
And
just me?
sorry,
What? It's not just me?
not just you. No. And we don't know what the ramifications of that are going to be. But anybody here ever read a Reacher book?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're familiar even with who I'm talking about?
Jack.
Jack Reacher.
Oh,
There was
yeah,
a
Jack
couple of
Reacher.
movies with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
But one of the motto he has is constantly plan for the worst and hope for the best, right? So I think if we, without trying to be in any way alarmist, if we've planned and we've got it accepted that things might go very badly, and it doesn't, at least we're ahead of the game, okay? But the worst thing I want is, the one thing I don't want is anybody around or in these groups or on this site who's not prepared in case it goes really haywire, right?
That's what you're here for, Peter.
That's it. That's it. So it's about, you know, here's if it goes really badly wrong, the worst thing that's going to happen is that we're going to be trying to do business in this format for the next couple of years. Nobody wants to do that.
No.
But I tell you what, if we're going to be forced to do that, are we better or worse off to be half good at it? In the words of the great philosopher Britney Spears, this ain't rocket surgery.
Jesus. Philosopher.
So here's the thing. So for the new people, who's new Louise is almost a new person so long since you've been at one of
Well,
these.
I'm trying to help it when you change times, young man.
And for Stephanie and Angela, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to do a little bit where we help each other. It's a safe environment, and we do pitches, and we try and help each other to perfect our pitches. These are not an environment where you come and you pitch your stuff so that I'll buy it, okay? This is where you'll come along. If you feel brave enough to do it, you'll do your pitch, and then we'll all slate you afterwards and cut you to ribbons and make you feel like crying.
Don't mind them.
We won't do that. But the point is that we'll give you the advice that we have so that you will be more likely to get business when you go and do it.
You're scaring people off.
That makes sense.
Joined.
Sorry?
You're scaring people off. They've only
Of course
just
I am.
joined.
Of course I am. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, but it's the principle that it's better for us to do it than the prospective customer to do it.
Listen, are you better off practicing in front of me or practicing in front of a customer?
Well, I don't know. I'm only joking.
So anyway, so that's what we're at, and normally we have a few more than this, but we look, it's a bit of crack. It's not to be taken too seriously. It's something good to do on a Friday afternoon. And what we're trying to do here, I suppose, is there's a million different types of pitches. Now, for the new people in the room, we concentrate on 3. Okay. Now, the easiest way to put it is this. I'm going to assume everybody at some point has bought a car. Yeah, so there's a process. Sorry?
Dodgy ones.
A dodgy one. That's okay. It doesn't matter. The point is, at some point, you realize you need a new car for whatever reason. And what attracts you is either something on the road or something you see on the telly, and we call that the advert. That piques your interest enough, and what's the next thing that you do? You go down to a showroom or you go online and you look for what? The brochure.
This is very old school.
Yeah, but that's okay, because it's a principle I want you to get. Right?
I'm only teasing.
Now, what is the point of the brochure? Point of the brochure is to give you enough information that looks nice and shiny and attractive for you to go to the next level, which is
Test drive.
test drive. Now, each one of those serves a very different purpose. Am I right? Okay. So the test drive is where you get really individual. The advert is the quick snippet. The brochure forms basically the bridge between the two, but it's just as if maybe more important than either of the other two. Would you agree or disagree with that? Because you'll never get to the test drive if they've a bad brochure. Yeah, it can't start here and go that way, can it? It can only work in that direction. So what we're going to do is the modern equivalent of a brochure is the internet, isn't it? So what forms?
I was wondering when you were getting to that, Peter.
There you go. Now, the modern form of the brochure is the internet, and what is it? It's your LinkedIn profile is your advert, your website is your brochure. Your test drive is when you do a special individual pitch specifically tailored to a particular customer. Yeah. Now, can you sell from a brochure?
Not unless it's a very simple
No, you cannot.
product.
Now, here's the thing. I would always have agreed with that you must do the 3 to sell. But I'm going to turn things on its head a little bit today. In the world of work, are we now in a position where we can do a lot of test driving? Because think about it. What was your test drive up to February? Your test drive up to February was what?
It was
to go and meet somebody in the hotel lobby, have the coffee, have 2 or 3 coffees, wasn't it? That was how you kind of really got to know whether somebody was. But that's become more difficult, so we have to do it in this format. The other thing is, if you could get your voice out to more people so that you're doing your presentation to 10 or 15 or 20, what would it mean if you could get 2 out of the 20 or 3 out of the 20 without having to go and have the coffee? Would it be good?
Yeah.
Would it save you time? Would it save you money? okay? So a couple of years ago, I experimented with this idea in the modern world of a brochure, a pitch that is a brochure. It won't always get you business, but it falls in there. So I'm going to give you an example. This morning at 7 o'clock, I did a brochure pitch to 15 and I got 3 new customers. It saved me an awful lot of sitting having coffees, didn't it?
Can you do a pitch for me?
Sorry?
Can you do a pitch for me?
What we're going to do at some point before this hour is up is I'm going to do the pitch I did this morning for you guys so you can see how it works, okay? Well, anyway, so what we're going to concentrate on to make it easy for everybody is the idea of the brochure pitch, okay? Getting into the nitty gritty of what we call the test drive pitch is too complicated for the type of thing I want to do here on Friday. So we're going to concentrate on the brochure pitch, okay? Now, when it comes to the brochure pitch, we're going to, for the sake of the new people, again, but I'm going to do this every single week. There are 4 items. Who remembers what the 4 items we need to get to in a brochure pitch?
Audience.
The audience.
I feel like the bold girl in the classroom.
Number 2.
The solution.
The solution. The concept.
And then me.
What was number 3?
What you're selling?
Sorry?
What you're selling?
Not yet, no.
Urgency.
Urgency. And then now, and number 4. Finally, me. And does anybody remember what we said the level of importance we want to try and get across is?
80, 50.
80% is on the what?
Audience.
Audience. The solution or concept was what percentage?
30.
50.
50. The urgency?
30.
30. And me?
10.
10. And the clever people are going to say, that's more than 100. But it is. It's the purpose. It's the pros. It's the idea of what I'm trying to get across. So who's the least important?
I was about to say, David specializes in finance, doesn't he? Numbers?
Yes.
I have smarter people than me to do all the adding and subtracting.
So, here's the thing. Me is only 10%. Isn't that right? Really?
Yep.
But yes, think about all the presentations you've seen in the last month. What did they open up with?
Me.
Superhero.
What did they spend most of their time talking about?
Me.
Who did they forget?
The customer.
Hey! Okay, so we see the sense of this, right? So, Ray, you missed this. For those of you who, Ray, you finished up early last week, right? So I've put in a competition. Did anybody do any work on it?
I did.
Did you? Good man.
Mine's it's not so much a jingle as a theme song, but like, hey, we'll go with it.
Okay, just to explain to everybody else what we're trying to do. When I was a kid, and probably when you guys were kids, there was an ad on the TV for a thing called the Safe Cross Code. Who remembers it?
Number 1, look for the safe place.
2,
2,
don't
don't
hurry,
stop and wait.
Right? How
You're
many
also
years
saying
is
your
it?
age. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, no, yeah. That's ridiculous, they're saying to themselves.
But the point is, how many years later is it, Ray? And you can at least come up with half of it, right? So
And
what
the rest.
Sorry, and the
Half
rest
the whole lot,
probably.
yeah.
Okay, great. So what I sent everybody last week before we finished up was, could we come up with an equivalent of the tune for the Safe Cross Code that has the 1, 2, 3, and 4 that we can finish and start with at this every Friday, so that it gets into our heads over and over and over again. Because the thing about it is, I can talk about this till I'm blue in the face, and it makes sense, and everybody says, yes, that's great. And what happens, do you think happens when I ask somebody to make a presentation? They fall straight into the old habits and start talking about me again, okay? So it's to get something that is able to remind everybody constantly of this. So, by the looks of it, Dave is the only one that did his homework.
Oh, God.
Let's hear it.
Go, David.
Oh, you want me to actually do this? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, look, I suppose with the caveat, obviously, that I can't sing, so I'm going to embarrass myself doubly. So mine is called The Sales Pitch. And as I said, it's probably more of a theme song.
Okay.
And what's really important here is that you need to listen to this in the tone of the theme from The Muppet Show. So that's what this is.
Okay.
The theme. Everybody remember The Muppet Show?
Yeah.
Stephanie looking blankly at me. Yeah.
I remember it. Looks to be deceiving, guys.
So I guess that in that light, it probably means that Peter and Ray are the two cranky guys up on the balcony throwing big.
They're not even cranky enough for me.
Or Statler and Waldorf that were called. So look, I'm gonna read this, but as I said, remember, think of this in the theme from the Muppet Show. Okay, here we go. So it's time to make a sales pitch. It's time to seal the deal. It's time to tell the prospect their pain you acutely feel. Who are your audience? What do they hope to gain? What solution can you give them to keep them all sane? Why are you the right guy? Why is your cost near zero? What is the urgency to make them the hero? It's time to make a sales pitch. We fixed the demo kit. One shot to get it right, or else the fish gets it.
Oh,
That's great.
That was really, really good.
That's so good.
That is,
My God, you've lost your vocation.
Oh, yeah, I will admit, I only realized at about 11 o'clock today that I hadn't done this, so I got on to Joanne and she ignored me, so I had to go off and do this really quickly, so that's why it's a bit shaky. And
listen, it's absolutely brilliant.
That's
There's
brilliant.
only one thing I would change in it, and that's the why is the price zero, because that directs people to a low price.
I had to get something to rhyme. I had to get something to rhyme with hero.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. No,
I just come up with a tagline for this as well. Sales is a sum of its parts. ASUM.
A sum, yes.
A sale is a sum of its parts.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Audience.
Well, that's really good. That set me up now for the weekend, Dave. That is, I'm going to be humming that now.
Well done, David. That was excellent.
That's great.
I thought everybody would have done it, and I wouldn't get a chance. I'd come in at the end.
Now, Stephanie, you do that in a rap version, I'm sure. So, want to bring it into the R&B world? Let's do
A
it.
beatbox version, no problem.
Oh, dude, that was super. Really super. Now I'm delighted.
So glad this is being recorded.
Now, what's the problem? What's the problem Dave has done? What's he done for the rest of us?
I didn't see the recording.
Who's going to top
Set
that?
the bar. He set the bar. Now,
Yeah.
I'm just like I wasn't expecting Louise to be coming on in a heckling mood. I would have.
No, Louise.
It's pretty great.
Oh, very good. That's super. That's super. And I love the fact that you remembered the hero. And who needs to be the hero? Yeah, okay. For those of you who haven't been here before, there's the love triangle, as I call it, of the characters in a pitch, right? And like any good story, we have our movie or whatever it is. Can anybody tell me what the first person you see in every single movie or story is?
No.
The clue was in talking to Dave a second ago, the hero.
Really?
Every movie has a hero. What else does every movie have?
A sage.
A villain.
A
A
villain.
villain and a sage.
And Sage, yeah.
And a sage.
Yeah,
Everybody familiar with what a sage is, by the way? The Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Mr. Miyagi, or whatever you want to call them, right? Now, when we were kids, and you were outside hanging around on the local green with your pals, and somebody said, let's play Batman, or let's be Superman, or whatever it was, who did every single person want to be?
Hero.
The hero.
A hero. Everyone. And there was always a fight over it, wasn't it? Who wanted to be the baddie? Nobody. Who wanted to be the sage? Nobody. Why? Because there was a bit of work in it. Okay? Now, but this whole thing of I want to be the hero has stayed with us into adulthood, right? Now, when we make a pitch, what did we say? Who's the most important person? The audience member, the customer, whatever way you want to call it, the audience, right? So we come where? A lowly fourth. But remember I said about everybody talks about me, me, me. This is me. This is what I did. This is me. Fuck off. Right? Here's the thing. What are they all trying to make themselves when they talk about themselves?
The hero.
Yeah.
The hero.
I got something
The hero
right.
of the hour. What?
I got something right.
It's about time, Louise. Pay attention. Sit up straight. Stop slouching. Right. Now, but who wants to be the hero?
Everyone.
Everyone. But who's the most important is the customer or the audience. So who do we want to make the hero of the piece?
Customer or the
Customer.
audience.
Customer. But what does everybody else do? They make themselves.
Never be the smartest in the room.
Exactly right. Never be the smartest.
And
Right?
sage isn't to be confused with know-all.
Exactly. So what you want to get across is that we are going to help them to be the hero. We're not a know-it-all. We've just enough to help them. That makes sense? Yeah? So it's about getting that across, okay? And who is the villain? Who do we want to defeat?
The problems, the challenges.
The problem or the challenge. Exactly. That all makes sense?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, that's super. Now, we did have one person who wanted to do the pitch today. Again, for the new people, what we normally do is somebody comes along and does a pitch, and then we all score it or talk about whether it's got the weighting for the audience and all that stuff in it.
I think Raymond should do a pitch.
You think Ray should do a pitch? Ray, would you like to do a pitch?
No.
This goes so naturally to you.
Yeah, I know, yeah, but no.
Okay, all right.
Thanks,
So
Louise, I appreciate that.
we did have one
Sorry.
person who had been looking to do a pitch, who keeps emailing me on Slack and saying, can I do a pitch? Can I do a pitch? Can I do a pitch? But has never turned up to the group. And I don't think that's fair. This is not a place for somebody to turn up once, make a pitch in the hope that they're going to get some business. Okay, so I think people need to be engaged in this before we should allow them. Would anybody disagree with me?
No, you're just sounding very strict for a Friday afternoon.
I think that's fair enough. It's the only way we learn, Peter.
That's it.
Would Angela or Stephanie like to try a pitch?
Sorry?
We didn't ask. Would you like to do a pitch?
Would you?
I don't mind.
Mind?
Okay. Or would you prefer to come back another day when you're something prepared? It's up to yourself.
Definitely try a little one and see what
Okay.
you guys think.
Okay,
Brilliant.
super.
Yeah, just
Right.
to give it a go.
Yeah, go.
So my sales pitch is essentially I'm already supporting people. Obviously, they're digital support. So because doing the masters, I'm now looking at, say, if I go to agencies or companies and see as me as a solution to their digital problems. So that's the background, just to give you a bit. So have you ever met someone, say, have you ever worked with someone in the room that they just look at their phone all the time? They're just not interested to even be there. They show up late, they leave early, and then you give them a project to do, and then it's the day before the deadline, and they end up not having it produced, or else kind of got the bare minimum done. So you end up running around just to get the bare minimum across the line to the client, and all that kind of upsell of stress. So how would you feel if you had someone who was dedicated to go in early, would always say finish on time or work late to get the job done, would always ask you, what would you like me to do to help you? And always kind of keep a good conversation with the client throughout the process. So what if I could be someone for that solution for you? That's kind of a rough pitch, but there you go. That's kind of off the cuff.
Well done. That's really
Off
good.
the cuff.
Well done, yeah.
Okay, very good, very good, very good. So now, Stephanie, this is the bit where you have to prepare to put up with all these people.
I can't wait to cry.
There is no crying allowed. And no meanness, Peter.
No meanness. Now, okay, I've actually, do you know what I've done?
You've broken your pen.
There we go. I've got that open. Now, so audience. Guys, did Stephanie bring you in?
Yes.
Yes? Yeah?
Yes.
Is that a unanimous yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. And if we were looking at 80%, how close to 80% would you think she came?
Be honest, guys, I love actually being critiqued. It's the only way to get good at something.
To me,
I would have, if I can, again, say, when you're looking at an audience, I think what you need to do is mirror them more. And we talk about this a lot, Stephanie, when we're talking.
Okay.
And so starting off by saying, when I've worked with successful companies just like yours, 99% of them have come across and said they had a challenge around getting projects finished on time. And it's usually down to people who aren't completely engaged. It's not something that you're experiencing. And if that's what you're trying to pitch to, usually they'll say, if it's a problem that you find with the customers you're dealing with, they'll go, yeah, I do. Yeah, I have that all the time. So what you've said to them there is that you're not alone. There's 99% of the successful companies I work with. So you've stroked them. You've kind of said you're a successful company. You're not failing because of this issue. You're good. Everybody has this challenge, and I'm the one now to help you with it. So that to me is where the audience engagement comes in. They start to mirror off you. Then it's like, yeah, I get what she's saying. She knows what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Will. Like that. Yeah. I like
Okay.
the engage part. Something.
Yeah.
Note down. Yeah.
As much as we can to put into that engagement to draw them in. Okay. Louise, you were going to say something there?
was I?
I thought you'd started talking at the same time as Ray. No.
Oh, we seem to do that all the time, Louise. Sorry.
If I did, it's gone. So I'll come back.
Okay, fair enough. Anyone else? Okay, if we were going to weight it then to say how close to the 80%, anybody got a score for us?
50.
50 is probably fair, yeah.
50, okay, great. Okay, solution. Anybody like to score on how the solution came across as something we might like to pursue further?
So I loved the idea of someone always there and able to deliver. I just didn't quite understand, is that an automation tool? Is that you as a person, like an assistant? Is that I didn't quite know what it was you were. That was the answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's great news. Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the thing. The me is a different one. So the question I have for you, Louise, is you said you love the idea of somebody being there, which is the concept or the solution.
Yeah.
So on that bit, did it make you want to know more?
Yes.
Okay, great. So it had the desired effect. So the solution we said was what? 50%. If we were aiming for 50%, what would you guys think we got there?
Probably 30. I think because there was need to flesh it out. So probably about 30.
30.
Yeah,
okay.
I'd say the same. And David, just to reinforce that, I think, again, it's when we open up with our audience and we talk about where their concern or challenge or opportunity is, always on the positive side, never a negative. You're like one of the other successful ones. And you say, it's not common for you. They say, yeah. And you say, well, can you tell me more about what you've done with it so far? So what you're trying to do is pull them in to understand when we're pitching that it's a conversation, because as Peter said, it's all what's in it for me. It's about the audience. They need to be allowed to talk more than you're talking. So a pitch should be different to what we've seen in the past. It should be more of a conversation. So tell me what you've done about it to date, because that's starting to let you understand that they're either very concerned about it and trying something or not. And it allows you to start to build your solution into what they actually need.
Yeah, that's good.
That was
That's
actually why I answered, because it sounded like you were asking a question. You said, have you ever met someone? And then I said yes, but you were still going, so I didn't need to interrupt you. I thought you were actually asking us a question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, when and for all of you, when you ask a question, leave what I call the pregnant pause.
Yes.
For somebody to actually answer that question, either in their own head or out loud. That makes sense? Okay? Because that allows them to, the more time you give them to think, is that me? Is that me? Is that me? Yes, that's me. The more chance you have of them feeling part of that audience.
You know, something that might work as well is being able to say to them when you're in that is typically the successful companies I've worked with, we're always resonating the same language all the time. Typically the successful companies that I've worked with in the past, I've seen them lose up to 80% of their business when they go to deliver a project. Is that something that you're experiencing? And they say, God, yeah, maybe a little bit less. And you say, well, what does that look like as a cost to you? And if they're engaged and they know what they're talking about, they say, well, that could be tens of thousands per month. Now you're starting to shape when you get to your close.
Yeah.
You know, based on what you said to me earlier, and it costing you maybe €100,000 a month, your investment with me will be very sound because we can, you know, so you're engaging them.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more engaging, the more we draw them in, the more they feel it's them, the easier the rest of it becomes, by the way. Okay. I've actually had situations where people have literally been on the verge of buying before even knowing what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
The
it's
best presentation is the one you never give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's the problem is that too many people wallow so much on the 10%, and then they come away and you say, well, how did it go? Oh, it was great. It was great. Yeah. How do you know it was great? They told me they're going to think about it.
Yes, yeah, think about it.
Now, but we've all been there, haven't we? So, would you like it? I need to think about it. Or I need to what? I need to go and talk to the wife. Or I need to whatever, right? Do you know what that actually means?
No.
When you hear I need to think about it, it means get the fuck out of my sight, you imbecile.
Oh, language.
Yes, it does. Excuse me. I speak the way I think because it has to come across.
And I think it's even more than that, Peter, because it also demonstrates that they don't feel that they've developed a good enough rapport with you to tell you to your face no. Whereas if you've actually had a really good engagement with a prospect and the time isn't right or there's something wrong with your pitch, if you've got a good relationship, they'll say, look, it's not what we want, but here's where it could help, or here's, you know, so it does demonstrate they can't even tell you to your face.
So there's two things I'll add to that, if I may. You know, usually at the start, you know, before we've had this meeting, we've had a pre-meeting, or at this very introduction, I always say something like, so hopefully by the end of today, I'm going to have two answers, a yes or a no. And I'm quite fine with the no, because we're going to discover today whether we can work together and I'm the right solution for you. The second thing then, just to say, is that when someone says they want to think about it, you now have the chance, because when someone says I'm thinking about it, you've lost them somewhere or not built enough value along your process. So you could say, Stephanie, I really appreciate you're going to think about it, but I want to be quite honest with you right now. Sales hat off, and usually a visual is a nice little thing. So sales hat off. Normally when a client says to me at this stage, they're not interested, there's two things going on. They're either A, not interested in what I have, or they are interested but still unsure. Which one are you? And what that does is allows them start to open the objection. So they might say to you, I'm just not interested. You say, brilliant. Can I ask you one more question then? Where did I lose you along the journey today? And again, they raise the objection. So you're looking to find the objection all the time. Or they might say, look, I am interested, I'm just unsure. Well, can I ask you where you're unsure? Yeah. And it brings the objection up again. So at this point, you're just looking to try and manage the objection that you missed along your presentation.
There are 17 potential reasons that they say no, and about 10 or 12 of them could be timing. Yeah. Where we have other priorities, we don't have budget, we might come back to it next year. There's a bunch of things like that. And it's really important, as Ray said, it's really important to know which reason you can come back and do it again.
Now, I'm going to stop you there. Right? I've heard these things about there are 20 reasons for this and 50 reasons for that. Right? I don't personally hold water with any of it. Okay? I really don't. And it's not your fault, David. Somebody with less intelligence told you that at some point. Right.
Okay, this is all opinion.
Here's the thing, right? If somebody says, I need to think about it, experience, if you actually were to ask them and dig down, most people go, oh, thanks very much, I'm glad you're going to think about it. When will I call you? And they get distracted. They don't ask the reason. Because I've never left one where somebody said in the old days where I didn't say why. And what I discovered was there were two reasons in general. First one was, we don't trust you. It was an easy way to get you out without creating a scene. Okay? People don't like confrontation. It's the third biggest thing people are afraid of on this planet. Number one is public speaking. Number two is death. And number three is confrontation. So the easiest way to get you out the door is to say, oh, I need to think about it. right? The other reason is in general, people haven't been clear enough. They've talked about me, or they haven't talked about the solution or whatever. Because here's the thing, write this one down. A confused mind can't buy. So if it hasn't been simple and clear, if they're in any way confused as to who you are, what you do, or how it's going to work for them, what's their answer? I need to think about it, right? And will they ring you up next week and tell you, we're good to go?
No, it's all over.
It's all over.
That's why I go back for the objection all the time.
So what happens is, has anybody ever had the courage to ring somebody up 2 weeks later when they haven't heard from them and ask them what's going on?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what do you normally get? I've been meaning to call you. Yeah. You see, the thing is, no, it's very good. And thanks for coming in that day and explaining what you do. It's really nice. Great presentation, by the way. And it's all, and what are they doing? They're distracting themselves in the conversation because they still don't want to get to the confrontation. And confrontation, am I right or am I wrong? Where 90% of the time it's, the thing is, we bought it somewhere else. Yeah? Am I right?
So Peter, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a situation where you've done a pitch, or anybody else you've done a pitch and the prospect said, I love it, it's a really good idea, it's something that we could really do with, but we've got ABC going on at the minute and we don't have the bandwidth to take this on board, but I'd love to come back in 3 to 6 months and maybe talk about it again.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that?
I have, in the early days. Yeah. Do you know what it means? It means exactly the same thing as I need to think about it.
No, it doesn't.
It's an easy, trust me, it's an easy excuse, right? Do they ring you back in 3 months' time?
I did.
You did? Yeah. Will you be the 1 in 100?
I have a very good example of that.
Yeah.
I was speaking with the company there a couple of months ago. Well, it was actually back in March about outsourcing their payroll, and they told me, I thought it was an excuse at the time. He said, oh, I'm putting in a new HR system, a new time and attendance system, and it's all on hold. So I couldn't get hold of him at all. And I literally picked up the phone to him last week, and he said, oh, your timing couldn't have been better. We literally signed off this morning on our HR and payroll system, and we want to start get you involved in the project. So they're taking us on, and this is a big company with about 1,200 employees. Now, I actually thought he wasn't interested. I thought he was fobbing me off, but actually he was telling me the truth in this case. It doesn't happen very often.
Now, that's the thing, okay? That's the point I was waiting for you to get to. There's always an exception that proves the rule.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But if I was to say to you, I mean, people always do this. They always heckle me from the stage and say, that doesn't happen to me. And then I dig down and say, well, how many times did it happen to you that way? Once. How many times did it happen the other way? Oh, about 5,000, right? So what I'm trying to do is, if we can understand the generality and prepare ourselves for the generality, if you could get 50 out of the 5,000 instead of 1, wouldn't we be better off?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what I want to say is, when it comes to urgency, when it comes to creating these things, very often, in my experience, is the value or the urgency hasn't been created, and they use the, oh, we haven't got the budget for that, right? Now, I remember the first time somebody said that to me, and they said, we haven't got the budget for that. I said, what the fuck you bring me in here for? Wasting my time to tell me you haven't got the budget for it, right?
It's appalling today.
It's always appalling, Louise. But the point is, do you see what I'm saying? It turned out, and I went, why'd you bring me in? Well, we thought we might have. And I just kept asking the question. And eventually the guy said, we don't know. It wasn't clear enough why, right? And I had to go away. And here's the thing, most people come away from that stuff, go, oh, it's a numbers game. You get 1 in 3, ha, 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 and move on to the next one. But I sat down and went, why, and kept analyzing. And what it comes down to, in my experience, is you didn't bring them in the first place. We didn't create enough urgency. So let me give you an example here, right? I'm not even going to go to solution. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to go little bit of audience, little bit of bring it in, okay? So, hands up, every one of you that would like to get your message in front of more people. It's all of you, isn't it? Okay. Hands up again if you'd like to earn a little bit more money over the next couple of months. It's all of you. Okay. Now, do you feel at the moment like you're not getting the results you deserve? Maybe you're spending more time talking with people about making money than actually making money. Perhaps the income you promised yourself when you went self-employed is taking longer than you thought to arrive. Now take a moment. Picture a steady stream of high-paying clients coming to your door. Imagine having the time to spend to do what really matters to you. And picture a healthier bank account that you're no longer afraid to look at. How would that feel? Now, do you want to know what's in that? Yes or no? You want to know how to get to those? Did that feel like it was written for you? When I asked you those questions, did you feel like you were the only person in the room? Yeah. And if you wanted to know the answer, or the next bit, do you want to know about it in 6 months' time, or do you want to know about it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I was to say, audience, have I dragged every one of you into my despicable little world? Do you all want to know the next bit to it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Would we call it the 80% waiting on the audience?
Yeah.
Or would we maybe even call it more? Right? This is how you bring people in. Does that make sense? And did you see the way I left all the pauses to let it sink in with yourselves so you could ask yourselves the questions? And what I did was I started off at the start with, would you like the opportunity to get in front of more people? Put your hands up. I wasn't wrong with any of them, was I? No?
It didn't particularly talk to me because every single person in the world wants more money in the bank account. It takes longer to set up a business. So it kind of just, it was generic for me. It just, I know where you're going, and I know the pitch of it is the audience was 100% there. But for me, from the beginning, is would you like more money? Well, I mean, everyone in the world would like some more money.
No, absolutely. But here's the thing. There's 6 of you here looking at me. I had to come out with something that was going to attract the maximum possible out of that 6. You with me? Yeah. And just because you've won the lotto and you don't need to worry about the money means. You see what I'm saying?
Can I be that 35 million winner of the Euro Millions?
But the point I'm making is, you know, you really had to try to find a way to fight against what I was saying there. I can tell. Right? Otherwise, sorry?
Never. Me, skeptic, never.
But you see the point of what I'm saying, right? Yeah. And the thing is, how do you do that? How do you generate that? It's taken me 4 years of talking to people to know the 3 things that really get to self-employed people. And I know it's there because thousands of people have told me it. I picked the 3 most popular ones. And I know because I've been there myself. I went through a period when I started my business when the bank statement came through the door and I'd pick up the envelope, I'd turn it over. I knew instinctively because of the PO box number in the top left-hand corner that it was from Bank of Ireland. And I went, I'll just put that in the drawer till later. Thanks very much.
I got one of those too.
And we've all done it, haven't we? Yeah. So if we've all done it and I bring it up, who sees themselves in that? Everyone. Okay. Now, okay, you might get 1 in 10 that goes, oh, you've been minted, I don't care. That's fine. They're not going to be our customer. You with me? You can't get 100%. Do you know what I mean? And it's like in the coaching game, Ray will tell you, there's always 3 or 4 people in every 10 who are completely and utterly uncoachable. And they will put you in an early grave trying to help them.
Are you
Do you
calling
want
me
them as,
uncoachable?
sorry?
Are you calling me uncoachable?
Equally.
Just today. Just today.
Today, yes.
Just today. I am conscious that we have 10 minutes and we've only got to the solution stage of Stephanie's pitch.
Yeah. Did you have more, Stephanie, or was that your go for today? Or
That was my off the cuff to give it you guys a go.
Okay.
It's like my treat for you on a Friday.
Well,
I
done for
honestly
doing
think when it comes to pitching, we shouldn't pitch to somebody unless we're sure they're open to pitching. So I think some of
How
the
do you
challenges
know when they're open to pitching?
because we ask the right questions before we get there.
I think it's back to Ray. Sorry, Ray. I think it's back to something we discussed at the customer journey mapping, which is the importance of turning leads into qualified leads. You waste a lot of time with leads that don't go anywhere, and you'll only give a generic engagement with them, which is no use anyway. So it just does highlight the importance of trying to qualify your leads.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay to talk about budget up front. For me, I think it's one of the most important things because budget is obviously finance, but it's time as well. So to Angela's point about her now customer, congratulations, by the way, their time wasn't right. So we pitched to them on the basis we wanted to sell to them today. But what we hadn't done is research with them first to understand, have they got the budget? Yes, I do. But to me, as an expert in this industry, this is Angela speaking, budget to me is time and money. So what about time? What do you mean by time? Well, you need staff. Have you got dedicated people to look after this for you? So it's okay to get to know. That's what I'm trying to get. My message is it's okay for us to pitch to somebody and get a no. A no is good. I nearly disqualify people before you look for the qualification, because a lot of people are saying, yeah, I want to do something, but they can't. They're strung by budget, which is time and people. So
Peter, Ray, would you talk about budget straight up front?
I do, yeah. I bring it in.
I don't.
I bring it in typically because what I want to try and do is find out, when I go through we use the audience and the solution. So I'm going into audience, I'm resonating with them, I'm looking for that pain point that Peter's just talked about. And then from there, I'm asking them, well, what's the cost to you at this time? How does it look for you? How does it make you feel? Who's involved? What would the outcome be if we did nothing here today? So what's your budget is where I go to. That's what I want to get to quickly, which is that I say, so with those kind of concerns or opportunities in front of you, where do you see the budget range on this kind of a project for yourself? Because I want them to say to me, well, look, it could be anywhere between 50 to 100,000, but I'm not sure where that is. So now if that comes out easily for me, I'd say, well, look, typically for something like this with a little bit further research, for me, it's somewhere around the 60 to 80,000 euro. Does that sound right to you? Hold the pregnant pause. Don't speak, never speak. And they, that's probably somewhere I'm at. Okay, well then based on that, let's move this on. Because I don't want to go all the way through and then say it's 80,000 euro and they go, I have to think about it. Or Jesus Christ, where did you get that kind of money from? What are you driving? Where you go on holidays every week, or where are you? Can
I ask you, Ray,
I want that.
Can I ask you a question? Does the problem I found in repeatedly in seeing sales engagements is that price is only an issue if value isn't clear. Does it matter if what you're selling is sort of what I'd call maybe a compliance product or a hygiene need to have type project, or if it's very much value driven? Does that make a difference in terms of not wanting to constrain it up front with the price? Because as I said, you find sometimes that it's when value isn't clear, that's the only time price is an issue.
Well,
Yeah,
sorry, go on.
Sorry, go Peter, go on. Go for it.
I have a different way to Ray going about it. I'll just give you an example of a way of thinking, okay? Let's imagine tomorrow was your brother's wedding. And this afternoon, your job was to go out and buy a suit or a dress and a pair of shoes. And you decide before you're going to go that you have 100 quid to spend on a suit and 50 quid to spend on a pair of shoes, for example, right? Just picking stuff out of the air. So you go out and you have a preconceived idea that it's 150 quid is what you're going to spend, yeah? And if I met you on the street or I met you on the way into Dundrum Town Centre and said, what are you doing here? Oh, how much are you going to spend on a suit? 150? And off you go, and it's embedded in here, right? Now, Imagine you've gone in, you've tried on a suit, you've tried on the dress, whatever it is, and you look in the mirror and you go, Christ on a bike, I look like I've robbed it. Right? And we've all had that situation where we've looked at something that's dreadful, isn't it? And if the salesperson came in and they said to you, that's on special offer today, you can have that for $5, would you take it? No.
No.
Now, at the other end of the scale, we've all been in a situation like this. You come out of the changing room, take one look in the mirror and you go, wow, Jesus, it's like it was custom made for me. I look at like $1 million in this. What happens to your budget?
Out the window.
It depends on whether you have a budget. If you actually have a budget that you can't go over, then you stick to your budget.
You always find a way to justify.
Have you ever found yourself in a changing room the day before a big occasion, sitting there with a notebook out and saying to yourself, if I eat beans on Thursday and Friday and I don't go for that steak next week, I can actually find a way to get this? Bet you have, because everybody has at some point, right? It's the better you perceive yourself to look in that outfit, the more money you will go and find. That's value, okay? So if you have given over the right level of value that makes somebody reconsider what they were going to spend before they say it. You see, once they've said it and they can't take it back. Does that make sense? Yeah? So it's about building that understanding, right? Now, here's the thing, right? If you take that idea of really showing them the value, okay? The other thing is, if you give a number, you want your number to look small, okay?
Always range it, never give a number, range.
Oh, or even, here's a slightly different way. If I walked into you and you said, how much does it cost for a day's sales training for a team of 50? Right? Day sales training, off the shelf, one day, 50 people. How much? Most people would say, what, Ray?
Well, I know what I'd say.
Probably about £1,000. Would I be off the wall?
No, it's about right, yeah.
It's a daily rate, yeah.
As a daily rate, right? So most people would say £1,000. What do you think most people who hear that say? Oh, £1,000 for a day's training. Sure, Jesus, I could read them a book myself for that, right? That's the attitude, right? Now, but that's the way it normally goes because people get to budget too quickly or they don't see the value in the training. They're ticking a box, okay? So now, let's look at it a different way. So how many people did you say? 50. 50 people. Okay, so 50 people. Now, I don't know your 50 people. I haven't met them yet. You're the boss. You're the person that knows the team. If I could give them, and we'll say A, B, C, and D, right? I'm not going to go into a whole spiel of different tactics and what have you, because we never got the time. But let's say I give them that. If we could give them that, I give them a bit of that. I give them a bit of that. On a scale of 0 improvement to bringing in 10,000 euros in the next 12 months each person, where do you think your team are most likely to fall between 0 and 10,000? Now, what do you think the person will say? Oh, they're not really that intelligent, but they're not that thick either. Maybe somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle. So I'm not telling you anything, Mr. Customer. You're saying somewhere about $5,000 each? Okay. So $5,000 each. You reckon this training will help them bring in an extra profit next year? Yes. So by 50 people, that's 250,000 euros. Am I right? Did I get that wrong? Did I make a mistake on that? Will you check that for me? The customer checks and goes, yep, that's about right. So you're telling me that if we do this, this, and this, and do it successfully, your team will bring in 250 grand next year? Yes. So by that rationale, as long as I charge you anything less than 200 grand, you're on a winner because you're still 50 grand up. Everybody laughs. It's a bit of a titter. And then you go, well, the great news is it's not going to cost you 200 grand. It's going to cost you 10. And you're still left with 240,000. How do you like them apples? Does 10 grand now look expensive? To the same person who had 1,000 was going, get out of here, I'm not paying that. Okay? And in exactly the same way, with the same rationale and the same way of doing it, Dave, you said about people saying the cleaning business or whatever, where it's all price driven.
No, sorry, I meant hygiene as in a hygiene factor. So it's it doesn't add value, but I have to have it.
Mm.
Okay, so how do you, it doesn't add value, but you have to have it.
Yeah, like
so what you work
security,
on is,
something like security or yeah.
Okay, so what you do is you work out in exactly the same way. So I don't know the local area. Security, that's a good one. I don't know the local area. How many factories are around here? How many were broken into last year? 2 in the same estate you're in, really? How many times were they broken into each one of them last? Twice. Twice they were broken into. How much did stock or inventory, do you know, did they lose in those 2 break-ins? Really? 500,000 euros. Well, stock disappeared. How much did they get back from the insurance? Well, they got 320. Okay, so that's a shortfall of 180k. Wow. That's amazing. Do you know for 20 grand we could secure and make sure you don't lose the 180? Does the 20 grand look expensive?
Nope.
No. Okay, so this is how you create. And if I hadn't have shown the big number here or the big number here beforehand, what do you think would have happened if I said we'll secure your place for 20 grand a year?
It's expensive.
Get out.
Another little tweak on that, Peter, as well, and it's interestingly, Stephanie, it could be very relevant, say, for organizing events, because I've seen it myself before when people have pitched me events, whereas you said €1,000 for 50 people per day. The other way to look at that is that's 20 quid a head.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's so they get sticker shock on the 1,000, but 20 quid a head, nobody has a problem with.
Right, but we never. For me, what you do, again, I always talk about, rewarding the customer. I call it the stroke, right? So we stroke, repeat, and reverse. So if Stephanie says to me or Peter says to me, how much is a day's training for me? I say to them, that is a really good question. You're not the first client to ask me that today. When you say sales training, that can range. But for me to fully understand what you need from me, I need to ask you a couple of questions. Is that okay with you? I never give a price without understanding first, ever, 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 ever. And I do this with sales training for people coming into car dealerships, where the first thing they say, because they're nervous and don't know what to say when they're buying a car, because we don't. People have a thing in their head about buying a car, it's all about price. Yeah? They come in and say, what's the best price? Well, that's a great question. Not the first client today to say that to me. Before I can make the right price for you to fit your pocket, can I ask you a couple of questions of what it is you're looking for? And it's a pattern interrupt, but it allows you to start the conversation where what happens? The customer starts talking to you and you're not talking to them. So the thousands are going to come up at some stage, but before I bring it up, I want to build value and benefit. David is the piece that you're building doing that, because they're usually used to people coming in and just saying, oh, it's 1,000. So you're like vanilla, you're not stepping out. And when you pattern interrupt them like that, they go, wow, this is a little bit different. Just give us the price. Well, I can't give you a price because I don't understand exactly what it is you want. Typically, a day's training can range from, and it depends on where you are in your own kind of life, you might say it can range from €500 to €1,500 a day. But in order for me to fully understand what I can do for you, I need to ask you a couple of questions. Just give us the price. Well, I can't without doing this. And I won't do it. Because they're just looking to say exactly what Peter said. Jesus Christ, €1,000. Are you working every day or one day a month? It's kind of, I've had it like. So.
Yeah. I mean, also, as you said, Dave, when you break it down per person, right? I don't know if any of you guys have ever organized business events with speakers. Business speakers. So you've done that, yeah? What would you reckon your average business person gets for a half-hour, 40-minute keynote here?
Well, we did a couple of them over at the sort of 3 to 5 grand mark. But again, it was for a whole company event of 250 people, so it put it in that context.
Yeah, Now, and I'm sure you've seen people that do
I'm
it for
getting
three.
drafted. I speak at everything all the time and I never get paid a penny.
We're going to have a whip round at the end of this and pay you for the last hour.
Now, here's the thing. Speakers get paid based on value.
Thanks. So I'm not worth anything, Peter.
What I mean is, what do they?
You went straight into that as soon as I said that. Exactly. Of course, I get paid value.
You get paid on value. Okay, so the more you can help somebody make money, the more value you have. Okay. Now I know people. I'm in the PSA, and I know people who get 300 quid for an hour's talk, and they're happy with that. Okay. Depending on what they speak, I know people that get paid nothing. They use it purely as a marketing exercise, right? To show authority or whatever it happens to be, right? When you provide, sorry?
It's like Louise, yeah. Looking for authority, like just pushing it in there.
Now, I'm not controlling this, so I can't mute you, young man. But if I was, I would.
Well, I was just before COVID, I was asked to do a talk for 750 people. I knew they'd loads of money, right? And the person that I was dealing with, it wasn't their money, right? But I tell you what they were charged with was getting results out of it. Now, and they had seen me, so they knew what they were going to get. And I said, okay, and it's one of these modern firms where they have bean bags and pool tables and all that crap, right? So, and I knew that they gave free lunch. So we got to it and they said, how much is it going to be?
You see, that's what I'm doing wrong. I spoke to 2,500 people, every single person there paid, but I didn't make that kind of assumption, so I didn't even ask to be paid.
Well,
yeah, so before you say it,
I'll teach you how to do this, Louise. Well,
As they say, the shy go hungry. Yeah.
The point I want to make is probably the highest money that anybody generally gets for speaking at that kind of stuff, as David said, is about $5,000.
okay.
Right? So I went and said, how many people? 750. Right. What do you want me to do? We've seen you do this and we've seen you do this one, and we'd like a mixture of the two of those. What's the point of it? We want everybody to be able to think better and be able to close more deals in less time. Okay. And if I can do that and you got 40% more productivity or whatever it was over the year,
I'm going to teach you about digital transformation. I'm going to tell you what it is we do. And then you can do the pitch. You can actually then negotiate the salary for me. And then I'm going to be rich.
No, I'm taking the money. Now,
percentage.
But the point was, I said that, so like 750 people, they need to do this. If we do that and we achieve that, what value will that have over the year? How much time will that save? I said, don't even tell me. I don't want to know the numbers. I just let you. So they were imagining this number in their head. And they said, now, how much is it going to cost? And I knew they were going to, and I said, okay, how much do you allow per person that's coming to the talk for their lunch? And they went 17 euros. I said, so every day you allow them 17 euros for lunch? Yeah. So would you think what I'm going to bring them has more or less value to you than their lunch? And they went, well, it would have to be more value, wouldn't it? So I'm going to teach them how to make extra money. I would have thought 25 quid a head would be fair. It's not even double the price of their lunch. Do you think I got it?
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And I stood up on the stage and it was half an hour.
So what happens when something is, so I'm thinking of just Angela there, do you have a set price within the payroll system? And what?
No, everything is bespoke. So like we have to do a very detailed, I suppose, a client inquiry form before we even do anything on pricing. So it depends on the number of employees, how often they're paid, if there's any integrations with, say, HR or time and attendance. So it does, before we even do a quote, we have to ask loads and loads of different questions and kind of find out how it's all working and why they want to change. Like I'm coming across so many different reasons now for wanting to outsource. It used to be kind of all about money. A lot of it since COVID is because they've no backup or contingency if the payroll person gets sick. We're getting, like, say, someone in the finance department that could be better used somewhere else within the company. So it's all, I'm getting so many different reasons at the moment for people, you know, wanting to outsource. But yeah, that the pricing is, unless it's literally one employee monthly paid, it's really bespoke pricing, you know.
Yeah, my motto, Angela, was always never outsource to save money. That's the worst thing in the world to do.
That's because this is Ireland, and in Ireland, people don't value consultants and outsourcing. They think it's cheaper in-house.
Yeah. I think it's kind of changed a lot though in the, you know, I think especially this COVID thing, we've never been busier since COVID started. Like, I think people are starting to see the value of having backup, you know, like a lot of companies just have one person doing a payroll, and they're starting to think, God, what happens if that person isn't able to work, or, you know, if they can't get into the office to process the payroll, get the, you know, get the salaries out. So it's become a big consideration now at the moment.
And Teresa, with international market setup, is there a set price or a base minimum, or is it just bespoke as well?
It's bespoke, but we have so many different countries with so many different prices. We have like a bit of a guideline to base ourselves on, but it really is dependent on the situation as well of the client, because at the moment, obviously, we are having to take into consideration that people don't have the budget they used to have, and we are working with them on that. So that's why it's very bespoke.
Yeah, another thing for any pricing, by the way, and it's just a thing I've noticed, plan from here on in to price everything based on a subscription.
Yeah.
Right? Because the one thing I've talked to friends of mine who've got into trouble since the start of COVID, and they all come out with, Jesus, I bought a car, or I bought this 2 months before this bloody thing arrived. I wish I had that money now. I wish I'd taken out 300 a month or 500 a month or whatever it was, right? And that mindset always changes when there's an emergency and people suddenly realize the value of having a safety net, okay? So for the next 2 or 3 years, every single person that you quote, only bother to quote them on a subscription, a weekly or monthly basis for whatever it is. Yep. Because it does two things. Number one, they see it as easier. Number two, they see it as holding on to their emergency fund, which is really important now. And number three, it gives you a chance of developing the relationship longer when you get them into the idea of a subscription.
There's another reason, Peter, which is particularly in software, that if you charge an upfront, a big fee, that often is seen as CapEx. And CapEx typically in companies requires board approval, whereas OpEx, a subscription fee, doesn't. It could be 10 times the size of it. Yeah. Over the life of a contract, but it'll be seen, as you say, as an ongoing thing. So bizarrely, companies have approval processes that are upside down when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah, but look, we know it's there. Yeah, we know what they're afraid of. Use it. You know what I mean? It's because here's the thing, guys. Look, and I don't want to be the harbinger of doom and stuff here, but you know, I was reading this week that one of the EU think tanks is expecting within the next 3 months that 40% of the businesses across Europe will most likely go.
Yeah, I read that too.
Now, that's a pretty shocking statistic, right? Now, think about even where you are at the moment. If you lost 40% of your income today, where would it leave you?
At the same place.
Minus 40% in my
life. But the thing about it is, we are going to have to go out and look for more customers, aren't we? Otherwise, we're going to starve. Okay. So what I'd like you to start thinking about is, from here on in, guys, it's every person for themselves. And the bigger the advantage you can give yourself going into a meeting where there's a little bit of work, because here's the thing, if everyone else is losing their businesses or losing whatever, every time you go to pitch, there's going to be more people waiting outside the door than there was last month or the month before. Yeah. So it's about giving yourself the greatest amount of advantage. Yeah. Without doing the work for cost, which is what I'm seeing all the time. Okay. And there was I do a good bit of stuff for a crowd in America called here's this for a mouthful, the American Association of Inside Sales Professionals. Right?
Oh, sweet Lord.
They're a huge operation, right? But they did a study since April the 1st on 20,000 pieces of business that were done all across the US. And they found one big deciding factor on who got the work. And here's the thing, most people would guess COVID special offers, or whoever did the best price, or whoever gave the free sample. Turned out it was none of those. Came down to credibility. Okay, so what it tells me is that in times like this, people will buy. They buy what they need, but they don't want to buy twice.
Do you know, even if you're telling a story, you create suspense.
Who?
You.
Me?
Yeah, it's like when even telling a story, you have that pause and everyone's going all the time.
I know.
Like, that's a gift.
It's not his first rodeo.
It's not my first rodeo, exactly. And
even telling a story, I just go and just tell the whole story. But like, you're just like, okay, just tell me already. What is it?
But then, you see, right? Now listen to me.
I know, I'm complimenting.
None of it happened by accident. It's all practice.
See, there was a pause again.
Yeah, all practice, okay? And understanding what it was. It comes naturally now, right?
By the way,
because I've been doing it for so long.
Stephanie and Angela, I'm not always this hyper.
I think it's great.
I don't know who this is. Like, who are you? What have you done, Louise?
Like, I do like liking things, but I'm definitely in a giddy mood today. So this is the first time we meet you both.
I love it. I think it's great.
But let me finish.
Sorry.
But the point was, if they will pay, they just don't want to pay twice. Okay? So what does that say to you? There are 3 steps in what you need to be doing. And just think about this for the next week, right? There are 3 steps. They need to see that you can give them something that has a value, right? So that's perception. They need to see, you need to be able to tell them the value. Not, I'm an accountant and I do the accounts. You need to be able to tell them this stuff, the big concept, the 500 grand, the 250 grand, so that they see the value. That's called communication. And the third one is, you have to have affirmation. Are you a safe pair of hands? If they give you the money, are you more or less likely to deliver? Will they get what they were looking for? Okay, so that comes down to testimonials, and testimonials from the right people. Okay, so that comes down to finding who is your most ideal customer and who have you done work for that's like them. Because here's the problem, people have their own perceptions, right? So for example, Louise, you mentioned conferences and stuff like that, okay? So I have testimonials from everyone from the local enterprise type people all the way up to the vice president of Microsoft for Europe. I will only show certain testimonials to certain people depending on where they are, okay? So if I went along and I showed to the local enterprise office in Carlow a testimonial from the vice president of Microsoft Europe, it means nothing to them. They can't put themselves in that space. You with me? Even though I'd be the first to go, look how fucking brilliant I am, right? But the point is, there's no point in doing that if they can't perceive it. Sorry?
Nothing.
But do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so that's a huge thing for all of us to go out and do over the next week. Look at the people that have been the happiest with us over the last, say, 2 years, and ring them up and say, listen, any chance of a 5-line testimonial? Right? Even write it for them. That's exactly what I was going to say. Even write it for them and send it to them and say, is that okay if I say that?
You see,
right?
All of that makes sense when, like, so I've been in-house for the last 20 years and a consultant in the last year. So I'm building out teams and testimonials. It's easier to ask for a lot of things when you bring it on behalf of a company than when it is when you're doing it as on behalf of yourself or an individual. I've never had a challenge with any of these kind of things before, but when you're doing it yourself, you're like, oh, and I can mentor as I do for Enterprise Island and all the clients and tell them what to do. But when it comes down to me, myself and I, and having to do that, it's really different. I'm going to have to jump, but I've got two things that I've taken away from this.
Okay, great.
One,
tell.
And I'd love to hear everyone's, because then I can write everyone's down and steal all.
Okay, great.
I'm really bossy today. So the first one is valuing, being able to understand a value in a room. For example, the events is like, if you've got an event with 2,000 people, €100 per head, they've got money to put into speakers. So put your hand up and ask for some money, and don't be afraid to. Second of all, the pricing range around it. So I think the solution for me was in Stephanie's example. The solution was, there were two pieces. I could understand that you were the solution in that sense, but I didn't know where the actual solution was. And so I think I would have that struggle with that. By the way, I've been doing digital transformation 20 years, Stephanie, and I still can't get any of this right. That's why I haven't done a pitch. So I'm trying to learn from that. So it was really, really useful to hear that. I kind of missed that. So yeah, really good.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
David, what was yours?
What was my takeaway? I think it's reaffirmed in my mind the idea that the danger of are the caveats all around a price conversation, that it has to be led by value. It can't be, and again, often in software, for example, you'd say 5 million. Well, I could build it internally myself for half that, and that's an unwinnable argument. So I think it needs to be driven by value first, before you start talking about price.
Yeah, and I think, Peter, you made that really clear in your example there, so thank you.
Yeah, and also perception.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Perception is one thing. Like, don't go off using my pricing examples, going to look for speaker fees for yourself, right?
Hey, sorry, I'm going to ask for 500K. What are you talking about?
Because nobody in Ireland has worked harder to get to where I am as a speaker. Yeah. But I put huge effort into it. I put huge work into it. And I wouldn't think twice before a big speaking event on spending €1,000 on slides for a 30-minute presentation that I will then go and throw away and never use again. Okay, but all that adds to the atmosphere, adds to the quality and the perception, and it's back to that thing of you've got to spend money to make money.
Yeah.
And so what I say to people is, when you go looking to get paid as a speaker, ask for it. But what you do is, here's the best way to go about it, because you keep your client happy. You say, you've seen me speak before, haven't you? Yeah, because otherwise they're not going to invite you, okay? Well, if you've seen me speak before and you know I'm not going to embarrass you in front of your clients, what value do you think it would have? Right? And ask that question. What value do you think would be fair, or would it be worth, right? Because sometimes the strangest things happen.
I don't really want to know the answer.
What?
What happens if you don't want to know the answer?
Well, how else do you learn your value?
I'm only joking.
You know what I mean? But sometimes I've actually been surprised. When I started off doing it, I was afraid to ask as well.
Yeah.
And I started to use that. Okay, if I do this and I don't embarrass you, and you've seen me before, and how do I compare it to the other people? So what value do you think it would be for me to speak at your thing? I was actually often surprised. They generally came back to me with a higher price than I would have asked for in the first place. Okay, so it's up to, but you see, it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't asked those couple of questions.
Yeah, no, I've got notes. I've got notes.
Okay,
and,
great.
What was the takeaway?
One of the things that Peter said at the very beginning, I think, was the way the COVID situation has changed everything. So prepare for the worst. I thought that was very good. Like, the way we do business is definitely going to change. So we've got to kind of, I suppose, acclimatize ourselves to doing things a little bit differently. And the other big thing was the bit about a confused mind can't buy. Make sure that you're clear. You've got your message across. If there are any objections, that you clear them up there and then. Rather than the customer going off being confused about what your message is or what you're offering. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me. That's actually a really good one, because definitely no one has a clue what I do. Stephanie, what about you?
I have a whole 2 pages of notes. So for first day, I've had the best first day. I was kind of scared and off the cuff, but I was like, okay, I'll just give it a go.
Well done.
Well done for doing that. Yeah.
It's so nice. I can see what you guys do. You really nicely critique each other with what you did to me, but it's really good details, like how you said there, like Raymond, about the engagement piece, bring it in, but it was just an engagement to really bring it in. And then Louise, how you said I kind of lost you because you didn't know where I was in terms of solutions. Like that's brilliant to know. Like that's like the most valuable takeaway I've had so far. And I've already put a question mark. How can I make myself more valuable? How can I engage better? And your pauses, Peter, that's brought in. That's in there.
Oh, they are class.
Aren't they?
Yeah.
My what?
I've got there pauses. But yeah, no, I've had a brilliant first day. Thanks so much, everyone. I can't wait till next week.
And Ray, what about you? What did you learn? That I'm a messer?
No. I think one of the most important things is social proofing, and that's testimonials. I think people do go there looking for credibility, and it's so powerful at the moment. You know, it's something we should all go out and do. You know, go out and write them yourself, send them to your good customers, profitable and good relationships. So do your graph and do up who's most profitable for me and who I've got the best relationships with, and they're the ones you want for your testimonials off. So just write it to them. Hey Louise, I just wrote this down for you. I think it might be fitting to what I've done for you. Could you just sign off on it for me? Because you don't want to write them, and you don't know how to write them. So if you write it yourself, I think that's really important. And I like the way, Peter, you said you don't show them all to everybody.
Yeah.
That you're doing exactly what we talk about is you know, getting it to the right customer. What's in it for me? You know, so it's all about. There's no point in showing Carlo, the CEO of Microsoft, because they're like, well, he's too big for us.
Yeah.
The council when you did down the road, and then they're like, right, that's exactly who we need here. So that was cool. Yeah,
it's a thing. It's back to, remember the phrase I used over the first few weeks that people tend to fall into the trap of. Does who remember show up and
shut up, was it?
Show up and throw up.
Throw up, yeah.
How many people come in and walk in and just vomit all their information out onto the desk?
Sometimes he leaves a pause and you're like, I don't know what the answer is.
So this show up and throw up. And some people do that with their testimonials. Just dump it all out. Here you go. Read them all. Try and find yourself in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? What does that give the customer? Work to do. What do they not want? Work to do. Right, so you just pick the three that are most, what would you call it, relevant to them, and present it in a nice way. Actually, give me 2 seconds there, Louise, right? I'm going to share something with you.
Okay, while you're doing that, I have a question for you. What did you learn from this today?
That you don't like my language.
Oh, come on, you must have learned more than that.
Look, like all these things, I learn a lot standing up in front of people, because even for me to practice my pausing, all that kind of stuff is huge. And even, you know, you made a comment, what was it to me earlier on? About...
I made a few, sorry.
You did, but there was one that mattered.
Oh, thanks.
Welcome.
Really putting up the ego today. Thanks, Peter.
No, the point I want to make is when you brought up what was it you said? That you didn't feel drawn in, even though the other 5 did, at my thing, okay? And you said there was some of it that just wasn't deep enough for you. So that's made me now go away and go, right, how can I make this even better, right? So, you know, and nobody else said it, so I wouldn't have known to go off and work on that, you know. But let me just very quickly show you this, guys. Now, when it comes to testimonials, could it be any better than that?
No.
Now, let me ask you, what are the things that stand out to you about it? What makes it so powerful?
It's probably the level of trust that you were there from the very beginning, from when they were a startup.
Yeah.
You understood their business and now they're very successful.
Yeah. Anything else?
The breadth of relevance. That's the key thing, that they're looking at that as a potential customer. You have to fit into that range.
Anything else?
Like how you've highlighted, oh sorry, go Louise, sorry.
No, go ahead, Stephanie.
I like how you've highlighted the biggest point there is actually what they said, not really where they're from. So you're kind of just making what the context is actually more important than actual company name.
Yeah. Anything else?
You've put a face to a name.
Put a face to a name, right? That's the number one thing. That's why his picture is bigger than anything else. How often do you come across websites and they've got testimonials written out and then it says a customer,
Yeah.
or not even a name, right?
Yeah.
Or Mary, really,
Yeah.
right? What does that say to you?
That the person
They just
didn't trust
fucking
the
made them
name
up.
of it.
It's fake.
It's completely fake, right? Or let's imagine it was just said Peter O'Brien. Well, who's Peter O'Brien? You look up the phone book, there's a million Peter O'Briens. As soon as you put a face to it, what happens? It becomes
Incredible.
Resonates.
credible and it resonates. But if anything else you notice, it's only 8 words long. How often, go on to random LinkedIn
That's a
profiles
very good point.
and you find stuff that's like a flippin' English essay in the Leaving Cert, right? And generally says nothing, okay? Right? They're the safe bullshit language, you know? So it's about make it really simple, okay? And I want to show you these for a reason, right? And again, just take this away and figure out how you can do it for yourself. There are 3 things that an international speaker booker wants. Number 1, they do not want to have a queue of people at the end of the conference asking for their 500 quid back. So they do not want to take a risk with people. So the 3 things they want to know, are you good on a stage? Number 2, will you entertain people or will you be boring? And number 3, does it have substance? That's all they care about. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah.
So now, what you need to do when you're going to gather testimonials is figure out, what does your ideal customer want? 3 things. What is it? And how can you get testimonials that shore up those 3 things? Just the 3rd thing that says, David Kennedy is fantastic to work with. Is he? I don't fucking care. I have an outcome I want out of it. I want to know, can David Kennedy do it? Okay? So back to the thing, the 3 things. Does it have substance? There you go. Does that say it has substance?
Yeah.
Does that satisfy one of the things they want? Of course it does. Second one, how about that one?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that shore up? Which one? The entertainment bit. Okay,
Yeah,
as well as
yeah.
it also double hits on the substance. You with me? And
Yeah.
what did I say the last one was? They want to know what? That I'm not going to embarrass them. Now, does that give people the safe pair of hands?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Could anybody even question whether it would be a good idea or a bad idea?
No.
Right? Now, I'm not doing this to blow smoke up my you-know-what, guys. I don't need to do that. This is about showing you the example. I have shored up the 3 things. It couldn't have been done better. It's laid out. It's easy to read. It's not an essay. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And most importantly, I have their pictures. Right? And that is such a simple thing to do. Right? I just have my little template, job done, and I can make up any of them. It takes me about 30 seconds to make up another one of them with a picture. Okay? So this is what I'm saying. Get your pictures, get permission to take the pictures. It's really funny. In actual fact, those 3, I asked them not only could I put up a picture, but would they like to send me a good quality one? What do you think they did? They went and got me really good pictures so that it didn't look blurry, right? They spent money on it because they knew it was going out into the world, and they were only too delighted to do it. So it saved me the cost of having to get it done. Are you with me? Okay. So does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
So you
you.
now have more homework. David, you only have one piece of homework to do, which is go out and get your 3 testimonials.
Okay.
Everyone else has to go and get 3 testimonials, but everyone else has to make their version of the jingle because David was ahead of you.
Well, like, can I not show up if I don't have it?
I'm going to put in a caveat here. Yeah.
Well, then you might not see me again. Are you just trying to get rid of me?
What's the
Challenge
problem,
for me.
Louise? Is it that you don't want to do the work or you can't sing?
Didn't stop me.
I suppose I wasn't there last time, so I didn't hear the example. No, you were brilliant, David. I think you set the bar so high, I'm intimidated.
Oh, come on,
I'm an accountant. I mean,
that's just an excuse. Guys, have a super weekend.
Thank you,
And we'll
Peter.
see you next week.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks so much. See ya.
Stephanie.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye bye.